Man, I love the BGG Artist Series every year.
I look forward to it every single year.
Like, it's the coolest. Seeing other artists put their take on the games is so cool. We're going to talk about some of those favorites of ours and the games that go along with them.
What's up, everybody? My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
We are the Brothers Murph, and yeah, we're talking about the BGG Artist Series. If you don't know what this is every year, BGG hires a couple different prominent board game artists and has them do essentially alternate kind of covers or alternate art for board games.
So they will do basically a cover for a game that is not the game that they originally
You literally
did the
see
art
one right
for.
there.
That's Galaxy Trucker by Quanchai Moriya this time,
Yeah.
not the original art, but they kind of reimagine the art in their unique style.
They're so cool. Every single year, I look,
We look
forward to it so
Oh.
much. They release them like every day, like one and then the next and it's so exciting. They're always so cool to see these different takes. So they were talking about our top 10 favorite BGG Artist Series.
I know.
And
they're
then,
all incredible.
Yeah, and we'll also talk about the games themselves a little bit, but they're absolutely incredible. If you have not checked them out, please check them out. Just feast your eyes on them because they're all absolutely incredible. Let's get to number 10. Our number 10 favorite of the Artist Series is going to be the Dead of Winter one by the Mico, Mihailo Dmitrievsky. Interestingly enough, this is actually one of the, I think the only one on this list that we're actually not a big fan of the game Dead of Winter. Dead of Winter is a game, a semi-co-op game where you are, it's the Crossroads system where kind of you're doing stuff and then as you're doing stuff, things might change later on down the road, but there's gonna be one of you maybe that is kind of like a traitor and is basically trying to do stuff to sabotage things, but you don't know who that is. So there's a lot of like intrigue in that way. It's just not really Mike and I's kind of game. We've played it before a number of years ago. I would like to try it again, but it didn't sing with us. But nonetheless, this poster though, by the Mico is so incredible. I love the Mico's art in general, so like that's a slam dunk already with the Artist Series, but like just the big like zombie skull, because Dead of Winter is like a zombie game. The big like zombie skull with like the red coming through that's kind of like blood, but not really. And then inside the skull, there's a whole bunch of different characters and stuff. And I just think it's so evocative. It's so cool looking to the point where like I love this poster, and I don't even really like the game. A lot of the times, it's nice when a BGG Artist Series one is about a game you really love. You're like, oh man, I love brass, so I love the brass one. That makes sense, right? This is one where I'm like, I don't even really like this game, but I love this piece of art. I think it's so cool, and I think it's a great testament to the BGG series, where sometimes I'm like, I'm not a huge fan of this game, but man, this is a really cool piece of art, and I love seeing these alternate things like this. The Dead of Winter one is absolutely incredible.
So number 9 is Brass. So Manny Tremblay did this piece, and this one is so, I like when art is simple. I like when they could do a bunch of detail and all sorts of stuff, and they achieve that through the kind of simplicity, or with Brass, with kind of the silhouette and then the reverse images where things are kind of white, so the negative image of the white and black, where you have the kind of figure of the, you know, the industrial man, and then the smoke from the fountains and things. And I like that when it's over the body of the kind of figure you see there, it's white and then it goes to the kind of dark grays and blacks, the kind of just grayscale, black scale of the image and stuff. Nick's much better at talking art than I am, but like just that simplicity, the starkness of it, I think just evokes some of the feeling of the Industrial Revolution really well, and it feels like a departure from Manny Tremblay's art style and stuff. It's just beauty and simplicity. And Brass itself is fantastic. It's a game set in the Industrial Revolution where there is kind of, you know, a lot of pollution and things going. So some of the kind of dark skies and the smoke billowing out, I think kind of evoke some of what's happening in the game, which is of course an all-time classic that Nick still hasn't tried. And in the comments, you should tell him to try Brass. But yeah, that's number 9.
Our number 8 is going to be the one for Blood Rage by one of the most prolific and best artists we got in board games, and that is Vincent Dutrait. Of course, Vincent Dutrait's gonna be on the list He's such a good artist. And the Blood Rage one, kind of like Dead of Winter, actually, this is another one where we're actually not a huge fan of the game, but I think this one is so freaking cool. I love the duality between the blue and then the red. I think it really splits up the piece very, very well. And you kind of have that, you know, the water and the boat kind of part in Blood Rage. And then you also have just the big old, like, kind of like Titan kaiju looking thing with the flame demon or flame monster, whatever it's called, up there. So Blood Rage is a game where you're set in kind of like Viking times, and you have a different clan of Vikings, and you are essentially doing area control. You're controlling different parts of the map, and you're trying to kind of get to Yggdrasil in the middle because that's like worth the most points. And it's kind of a shifty game because you are drafting out these cards, and these cards are going to have certain abilities that they do, but a lot of times they're going to have different powers. By power, I mean like strength on them. And you're going to be getting into battles, and you also be playing these cards. So there's a lot of like shiftiness in the game where like I'm like, oh, I have like 4 troops. They only have 2, but they might have a way better card than me that essentially makes them win the battle. Or if they're doing the Loki strategy, there are different gods in the game, which is Loki, and Loki is trying to lose. And so sometimes you might go into a battle and be like, I'm going to crush. And it's like, yeah, you are going to crush, but that is what they want to happen. So a lot of good stuff like that. It's just not really our kind of game. I don't particularly like games where I go into a battle and someone will be like, haha, here's a card. You know, I'm just like, oh, okay. But nonetheless, this piece of art is so good. But I think one thing I love the most is the big, again, kind of like Titan kaiju at the very top. I just think it really captures that game well, where there's like all this stuff going on kind of on the board on the bottom of it, and then you can recruit these big monsters and they can come in and really, really change stuff. And I just think it's so darn cool. It's pretty simple, but it's got that Vincent Dutrait look that just works so well for board games, and it's just done so well.
Number 7 is this piece of Takenoko by Peter Wocken, and this was one of the first ones that really kind of clued us into the BGG Artist Series. And the using of the tiles, this is one that's kind of almost looks the most like the actual game looks, but taking those tiles and kind of bringing them into a 3D cascading garden with a panda kind of hanging out, you know, with their feet dangled off the side of one, and the water running from tile to tile down, kind of creating waterfalls. It's just so beautiful, and it uses the colors of the game so well. And so this is one that I like that isn't like trying to make the game look completely different than it looks, but still doing something really whimsical and beautiful, which is kind of the heart of the game, where you are building out these tiles and you're watering and irrigating and cultivating the land and building bamboo and stuff and bringing a panda around to eat them. So it's all kind of here and contained. You kind of see everything that the game brings, and it just brings kind of almost a dream quality to it. Something fantastically done by Peter Wocken. So just another great entry and a fantastic, nice game that's just beautifully produced. That is Takenoko.
Our next one that we really, really love is the Fireball Island one. Now, there's actually 5 Fireball Island ones. They worked with Restoration Games to commission 5 different artists to do Fireball Island ones. They're all really, really cool and very, very different, which I really, really like. But the one specifically I'm talking about is the one by Heather Vaughan. I love Heather Vaughan's art. Heather Vaughan has done some really good stuff. They've done a couple of the unmatched sets that are really, really great. And Heather just rocks, an absolute rock star at art. And I just love this one. I love Fireball Island. Fireball Island is based off of the old Fireball Island, but done newer and better. But you are throwing fireballs at each other, dropping them down Volkar's head, and trying to knock over each other while you're trying to run around and get treasure. Really, really fun game. But I love this game because I love I don't know, the way it's done is so good. I love the kind of big open sky with Volkar in the background. I just think it's very big and Volkar and menacing, kind of as Volkar should be, right? But then you kind of get down, again, kind of like talked about Blood Rage, where it's like you have this big thing at the top and then you kind of get down to the board. And just that menacing tiger in the front, I think is so darn cool, because in one of the expansions, like this kind of like frog, you know those frog toys you used to play where you kind of like hit the back and it jumps forward? There's like one of those with a tiger, and you can literally fly the tiger on the board and slam somebody down. It's great. And so having this tiger, but the way it is, where it's just smack in the middle of the composition of the piece, and just kind of like prowling forward, not like running at you, not like a kind of tiger that's about to attack, just like menacing and staring at you and moving forward. And then you have Volcar in the background and cool stuff around it. I just think compositionally it's so well done. And I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. I love the color palette. I love that kind of like sunset pink look, purples. It's just right up my alley in terms of color palettes that I tend to like. I love this one. All the Fireball Island ones are really, really cool. Check them all out. But the Heather Vaughan one, when I saw it, I was just like, wow, that is so freaking cool. I absolutely love that one.
Number 5 is Arc Nova. This is from the most recent set of BGG Artist Series games by Joëlle Drans, and I apologize for probably saying your name incorrectly, Joe. So Nick and I are big fans of zoos, and especially the ones that are really doing it right and really focusing on conservation and awareness about what's going on with the natural habitats of animals. And this portrayal of the cover, kind of at the gates, and you see these animals kind of living free in this beautiful kind of sunset. It just, for me, speaks to kind of, I think, like the dream of what we want zoos to be and what we want animal conservation to be and what we want to restore in the natural world and give back. It's just so beautiful. Like a lot of the artist series, what they kind of do is they kind of give you a feeling of like a postcard of like, come visit, you know, here on vacation. And this does that beautifully, where I'm like, I want to go to that so bad. I want to go see all that. And it just looks so lush and beautiful and natural. And so, yeah, for me, it just, art moves you, right? And it just evokes those feelings of like what could be in a beautiful, beautiful way. So Arc Nova, it's just so, I don't even have great words for it, other than say great job. I think it's so beautiful. I think it speaks to the mission of like what we're trying to do with animal conservation and what we could do. It's wonderful. That's Arc Nova.
So our number 4 is going to be the Quacks of Quedelinburg one, which is done by Mr. Cuddington, who do they're some of our favorite artists. They do like the Tidal Blades world, a lot of stuff for Druid City games like Grim Forest, just such beautiful art. I mean, they're so good. Mr. Cuddington is a husband and wife duo, and they're incredible artists. And the Quacks one, so I have a bit of a beef with the Quacks one, where I am an artist, if you didn't know, and I was always like, I wonder if I ever had to do an artist series one, what would I do? What would I want to do? And I've always thought like, oh, you know, it'd be a cool one is to do Quacks of Quedlinburg, because one thing that bugs me in Quacks of Quedlinburg is there's no ducks in the game. I understand they're not talking about quacks like ducks. They're talking about quacks like a quack doctor. But I'm just like, there should be a duck somewhere in this game. And so I always wanted to remake the cover with a bunch of ducks on it instead of like people. But nonetheless, Mr. Cunningham got there first, and theirs is so good. You just have the cauldron in the middle, and then just all of the colors. You have the colors of the sky with like the purple, and then kind of like the mist or the smoke or whatever's supposed to be coming out of the cauldron, and then the silhouette like rats that are on the cauldron. It's just like, this is one of those ones where you're just like, man, they are good at art. Man, they're good at art. This is so incredible. It's just straight up pretty, and it kind of gives that whimsical nature of Quacks of Quedlinburg, which is a push your luck game. So I haven't talked about the game. It's a push your luck game where you're throwing ingredients into a big old cauldron, pushing your luck, trying to, you're pulling these pieces out of a bag, trying to basically go as far as you can without your pot exploding. You can have these like little white snow pea looking things. If you get too many of those in your pot will explode, and that's not good. And so it's really, really fun, but it's set obviously in a fantasy world where you're throwing a whole bunch of stuff in there, like mandrakes and skulls and all this kind of stuff. And it's very whimsical. And this poster, I think, captures that very well. It's just very whimsical and nice and colorful and beautiful. And Mr. Cuddington is just like top tier artist in terms of board games. One of the absolute best, if not the best. They're so good. The Quacks of Quedlinburg Artist Series is, it's so good.
Number 3 is A Feast for Odin. That is being visualized here by Weberson Santiago, who has one of the most cool, unique art styles ever. They've also done recently like Whirling Witchcraft and I would say Too Many Bones, The Bloody Inn, I should say, in the past. They have this great use of color, and it almost looks at times like cut out like in layered art. Like you would cut it out from some other thing and then layered it on top of an existing color or something like that. It's just fascinating to me. The Feast for Odin is, people mostly know, is my favorite game of all time. And I think it's just got a fun theme and stuff. But when I see this art, I'm like, that is incredible. That's larger than life. You have this just crazy looking Viking character that couldn't possibly be real. People are holding up their horned goblets and things, and the color palette and stuff. And I was like, where do I get the dark version of A Feast for Odin? Like, where can I get a game that's completely that style? I don't even know if it'd work well in that style. I don't care. It's so incredible. This was, again, one of the early ones that we saw that were like, what is that? You know, and Weberson Santiago has such a unique style. And I love seeing it anywhere we can get it. And a lot of times they kind of have they are games that are kind of on the Halloween-y, maybe macabre side of things. And so I like it seeing me applied to something like Feast for Odin, which I wouldn't think of as a Halloween-y type of game. And it gives that vibe, and it's just very striking. So Feast for Odin, I just want that whole game with that.
And the number 2 for us was actually my personal first time I ever saw something from the Artist Series, and this is, it's actually right here, Galaxy Trucker. I'll give it a better shot at it right here though. The Galaxy Trucker piece is on our wall because it might be my personal favorite. I think jointly Mike and I's number 1 is number 1 for that reason. But like the Galaxy Trucker one is just so good. It's by Quanchai Moriya, if I haven't mentioned. And it's just, Quanchai has a style with this art that's very painterly, very loose, but so well defined and so interesting the way it is. And I love, Galaxy Trucker, by the way, is a game where you are building out a ship, and you're gonna be going on some kind of like, essentially a run. You're going on a run trying to take something from one place to one other place, but the game is you building the ship. And then as you're on your run, there will be a whole bunch of bad stuff happening. There'll be like aliens attacking, there's gonna be like meteors coming and smacking into your ship. And as things are like hitting your ship and all this really bad stuff is happening, parts of your ship are gonna be like breaking off and falling away. And you can even have like a whole chunk of your ship go boom and go away. And when you're building your ship, you're building it real time with everyone else. There's all these tiles in the middle of the board, and you're flipping over these tiles trying to build it like that. And so it's done very hectically, and you're trying to do it as well as you possibly can in the time frame. And then you just have to go through this gauntlet and just hope you survive. I love Galaxy Trucker. I think it's super silly, super fun. It's a good time. And this poster is just like, I don't know, it kind of captures like the coolness of it, because she's just like sitting there driving, and it's just, it's so good. And I love this one because, so the Artist Series is also, they're kind of supposed to be like travel brochures. That's kind of like the original theme of them was like, they're meant to be like travel brochures for these games. One that's not on this list but is very good is the Scythe one, is very travel brochure-y, does that one very well. But one thing I like about the Galaxy Trucker one is it has that in it where it says like, what is this, excellent pay and safe working environment, which is, the pay I'm sure is bad, and the safe work environment is absolutely false. But again, this is kind of supposed to be on like a brochure or like a recruitment letter. And I love this, showing like this cool woman driving it, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna get paid well, and it's gonna be super safe. And if you know the game, you also know that that's absolute baloney. That's super untrue. And that just makes it so much better. I think it takes the amazing art of this poster and just elevates it so much. I love Quanchai Moriya's art. He's one of my favorite artists of all time, not even just in board games. I absolutely love their art. And the Galaxy Trucker one, it was the one that first was like, wow, that's absolutely incredible.
So number 1 is Great Western Trail. This again was one that we weren't particularly fans of the original cover. and we saw this version. I was like, how do I get a sleeve to put onto my game? This is by Chris Quilliams, who coincidentally has done the new series of Great Western Trail games in this art style, so that we do have that. Oh, happy day. But this original poster just felt like it jumped out of a Western movie, an old school movie poster that would have been hand drawn and things like that. The cowboy in the kind of foreground on the horse leaping, the train beneath it, the herd of cattle. It again gives you a lot of the flavor of what you're doing Great Western Trail. You're herding cattle and stuff, developing train lines and stuff, but it has a romantic quality, I'll say, to like, you know, old spaghetti Western cinema and things like that, and kind of the aesthetics of the old West that we know from like movies and things like that from Hollywood. So when we saw that first poster, I was like, yes, please. I want that real bad. And then we kind of got it. So it's like, I don't know if the artist series directly led to that happening or any of the story behind that, but I like to think it didn't hurt because we have the new style where all the covers create this like beautiful panorama. And again, there's kind of a romantic view of that landscape, that time and stuff, and kind of, you know, cattle ranching and herding cattle. It's just kind of like, you know, still happens today, of course, but just feels like very evocative of the past. This poster was just so cool. I remember just being absolutely floored by it. I thought it was just so cool. I still think it's so cool. Obviously, nothing has changed. It's our #1 from the artist series ever. But that is Great Western Trail. So those are some games and the series artistry that has gone on with them. We won't bother with an honorable mentions because the honorable mention is every game they've ever done in the artist series is so incredible.
What game would you want to see taken on? Not necessarily like an artist specifically, but what game would you want to see like a cool alternate cover for?
Do me like Clans of Caledonia, but like hyper realistic, really cool Viking style.
Okay,
right?
okay.
Or Scottish Highland style, rather, I should say. That would be so. Oh, that'd be so cool.
I would love to see like Star Wars Rebellion. I think it would be like,
but like with like the fort art style, it's like really cartoony, like
that would be incredible. Yeah,
that one.
That's BGG, get on it. That's what I want. That's what I want.
Yes.
If you can even do IP stuff, I'm not sure. But nonetheless, let us know down in the comments below what your favorite BGG artist series, or if you're just discovering them now, which one do you like, or what one do you want to see? What artists do you want to see? Because I'm sure BGG is always looking for new artists because they are, they're so cool.
It's the coolest thing every year.
That's me and for us. We'll see you later, everybody.
Bye.